welcome to this exclusive bonus episode of the Echo Leadership Podcast. You're a part of the tribe. You're a part of the Echo Leadership Collective, and we want to help you. We want to help you thrive as a leader. And today we're going to have a conversation with a local entrepreneur who is getting the ball down the field in some really crazy times. Suzie Williams is the owner of CrossFit Volition. She also owns another gym called Sundown CrossFit. They also have a great tribe of people trying to stay healthy during this season. One of my favorite things to do as a leader is to have conversations with other leaders. I actually think I learn more in conversations like this than I do even reading books. So I think we're going to have some fun together, and I think we're going to all learn and grow together from this conversation. So I want to encourage you to just sit back, listen, enjoy it. Hopefully it helps you get better as a leader. I'm here with Suzie Williams, and she leads a gym here locally in the Bay Area. And one of those gyms is called Sundown CrossFit, and the other is Volition CrossFit. And she has been doing a fantastic job over the last 9 months in the midst of COVID, even before that, leading here, making a difference in people's lives. Suzie, thanks so much for hanging out and talking leadership with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a huge honor. You just listed your list of interviews, and I'm feel very honored. So thank you.
Yeah. And you guys have been like in the midst of not only leading through a pandemic, but one of these gyms you opened, like you bought it in the middle of COVID. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. We started the process probably in December, just having at that time, we would love to have that full revelation that it'll close in a few months. But yeah, we started the process in December, signed the documents for transfer mid-February, and then take over April 1. And it was closed. So it's been fun.
Well, you guys have done a fantastic job continuing to help people. I know that you've had to make a lot of changes in the midst of this season, and this season has been really hard on gym owners in particular. And I'd love to hear, even for you as a leader, like as you're processing this season, what are you doing to continue to grow and get better as a leader in the midst of such volatility and craziness all around us in the environment?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm really having to learn to draw some really hard boundaries just because there's so much information out there, and it's more information boundaries. And so just because there's just so much bad information, there's so much sad news, and sometimes as a leader, we can make our decisions out of just all this fear that's being kind of thrown at you. And as with somebody with a lot of responsibilities on them, I just don't want to get in a place where I'm making a lot of fear-based decisions. Sometimes even like fear-based wisdom, right? Like, oh, it's so wise, but what is like that basis of? And so I think just learning to draw boundaries, and it's hard because it's such a different, like your day-to-day doesn't look like it did 8 months, a year ago. And so just having to learn to redraw those, and it changes all the time, so that's something, but to always step back, be aware, have a conversation with my husband, and he helps me just kind of, okay, like this is what I'm seeing, to have that accountability. Yeah. And the other thing is that I've reached out, for just so many people, more than I ever have during this time. Generally, when you're flowing, you don't feel like you kind of need as much help, or, things are going well. But when things are just, everything's a ginormous question mark, I just try to lean on to wisdom from people from all walks of life, to, multimillionaires, to business owners, to restaurateurs, to pastors, just everybody. I'm just kind of soaking it in and find a lot of encouragement for them. So that's been huge for me from a growth standpoint and getting better for sure.
That's awesome. Well, it's been encouraging to me to watch your tenacity. I know that like you guys have done gym classes online, you've gone physical, back to online, back and forth multiple times. Like in all these pivots, what would you say is one of the pivots that you've made that has most worked in terms of your mission?
Yeah, I think the very first thing we did, I just took a pause when we first got the news. And at the time, we only thought we were going to be closed for 3 weeks. So we're like, whatever, like 3 weeks is 3 weeks, no big deal, right? And then here we are today. Everybody's still a little shocked of that, But I think at the time, I just, I took a moment and I actually prayed and just took a breath and said, okay, what do I do? And the first thing was the first word I heard was to give generously, to be generous, because this is a time when people are freaked out. And so, love casts out all fear. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to be generous. So within probably 10 hours, we started just giving away all of our equipment and renting it out and just trusting our members with it. I mean, I was probably a little more trustworthy than I should have been, but we wrote up a simple contract and just said, guys, come on out. We're going to support you at home. Don't worry. Trust us. It'll take us some time, but at least I can get you guys some equipment in your hands and get you guys going. So I think that was probably the biggest thing for our members that took them aback. And that's probably the number one, compliment that we had. We had actually done it. I don't mean this to brag, but we did it before any other gym did it. And then every other gym was like, oh, that's a good idea, Yeah. But it was just one of those things that just kind of taking a positive breath and just continually just trying to lean on generosity, because it's just such a hard time. A lot of people lost their jobs and they're members of our gym. And so how do we help them, meet them where they're at so they can at least have some level of hope or some level of routine, because we're here for their physical health, and how can we help them in that time? So there's been a lot of things, but I would say that was the number one thing that we did. Just honestly, the first thing we did. Since then, there's probably a lot of mistakes, but it seemed the first thing we did was actually the best. So
that's awesome.
We're proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, just the way that you guys within a week had done that, shows remarkable flexibility on your part. And what's been interesting, I think, as the crisis has rolled on, people have increased opinions about how everything's supposed to be done for businesses and churches and leaders. And there's a lot of criticism. And of course, we knew this before COVID. We can't please everybody, but it's only made it magnified that we cannot as leaders please everybody. And I wonder for you, in processing the criticism and people's different opinions of how you should be running your business, how have you tried to stay above the fray on that criticism as a leader?
Yeah, it can be a little challenging. Fortunately, we get more affirmations that we do criticism at our gym, which is great. But we definitely get it. And so I tried to weed out the emotion of the criticism that's coming from them. Because, this is a season where people are doing wacky things, and you just don't know what they're dealing with. And so sometimes their just outward expression of that is to criticize somebody else. And so for me, it's just saying, okay, take a breath. Let me weave through. Maybe there's something in here that I can actually take and walk with. Yeah. And then check in and just say, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Well, certainly. And if it's something that I find was value of just saying, hey, if there's any way we can help, we'd just be happy to step in and help you. But, some people are just going to be jerks, to be honest. And it's one of those things that you have to be true to what you know to be right. You have to stand by it, but you also have to be kind of willing to deviate a little bit, because this is a time where what used to be isn't anymore. And so I think we can't be so much to that side where we're unwilling to deviate and say, you know what, that's valid. Let me continue to look into this, but I think the biggest thing is just understanding, hey, I don't know where they're coming from. They may be coming from a super hard place. I don't know what's going on in their home, and even more so now. And so I try to kind of cut all the extra words out that were probably unnecessary and see what they're actually trying to get across, or I clarify. And if they continue to be that way, I just, okay, thank you, goodbye. We don't need that. But it takes time to grow in that for me. I take it very personally. I'm very personally invested in so many ways into our business. So to not take criticism personally is difficult. And I think as a business leader, that you're just so much of your whole life is being revolved around it right now. When you get that, it's hard not to take it personally. So sometimes it does hit deep, but you got to kind of move on and know that it's all going to work out. You got to kind of weave through the emotion of it all. So I don't know if that's really super direct, but no, that's helped me.
I can totally relate. And I love what you said about, people come with their criticism. They have a whole host of things that they're dealing with, in their families and their own issues that they're wrestling through. And rarely is their frustration towards you about you. There may be pieces of it that is something that they're annoyed with, but the frustration, they might be coming at you with like an 8 or a 9, and the level of frustration specifically towards you is like a 2, but it compiled. So you got, everything in their frustration. One of my mentors has this principle he calls the matador principle. And he talks about like a bull. When a bull charges, if you try to lock antlers or, whatever you call it on the top of the bull, the thorn.
The horns.
Horns. But if you try to lock horns with a bull, you're just going to get resistance. So it's better to say, okay, thank you. We'll keep that in mind. And sometimes I find the harder criticism is the one that is from the people that are closest to you, the wounds from our brothers and sisters that we're like on the team with. And I wonder, even for you, as you're working with your team, what are some things that you're saying to the team to kind of keep them moving forward, keep them focused, and even help the unity of the people in your inner circle?
Yeah, that's been something that I think has probably been my most difficult of any of this, because your whole team's roles have changed too. You've had to shift their roles quite a bit. There's a lot of tension just within themselves of having to shift that role. Yeah, that's probably been the most difficult thing of all of this. And so I think it's just one of those things where we said, unity is the way forward. And the biggest word I got from my team was humility is the way forward. We have to be humble. And if we're not willing, this is a time where you have to be willing to take correction and criticism, because we're all in a very uncomfortable place that we've maybe never done this role before. We have like a huge learning curve. And if we're not willing to take some feedback or willing to ask somebody to come along and help you in this area, then we're going to ginormously fail. And I tell them, even though I've given you this responsibility, I understand it's hard. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what we're doing. So as long as we can all acknowledge that, and you can take a place of humility and say, all right, like, I'm going to work on this, but you also can't put up so many walls of saying, I don't need help with this. This is my job. And that kind of pride festers up, or being unwilling to take feedback. And so for us, like when I sit down with our team meetings, our kind of little mantra we've had over the past couple of weeks is humility is the way forward. How can I help, and how can somebody help me? And that's the number one question we've been asking. And it changes month over month, because every month for us looks very different. But that's just been our number one thing. And that even comes from our members. We've even reached out to some of our members and just being like, I know you guys are invested in us. You show us that you like us by paying for membership every month. So, I would like to think that means that you're not just throwing money at us, but what do you see? How can we do better? And being willing to kind of take that extra step and just kind of saying, we're here to serve you, and that's all we do. We don't need your help. Like, we know better than you, but in the end, like, it's just not a time for that. So we've started reaching out to some of our members. Hey, like, how can we do this better? What has your experience been? You guys, we have some super intelligent people, and they're problem solvers. They love to problem solve. So we've even reached out to some of our members saying, hey, what do you see here? How could this be better? Even from a tech standpoint, having to switch tech, and do all that stuff. Like, we're a bunch of meatheads. We don't know how to do this tech stuff. So that's been really big. So that's been our kind of way forward. Even, if you're amazing and you see yourself as an epic coach, like, this is a time to say, hey, I'm going to continue to grow in this area, because everything is against us. So we have to continue to grow and move forward. And we got to be able to take constructive criticism, feedback, and put ourselves in a place of humility to receive that and to serve in the same capacity. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty hot on that right now. It's pretty big.
It's interesting even hearing you say that, because the last few months I've used, like I've said to our team a number of times, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I may seem like I'm real clear, but I have no idea I've never led through a pandemic before. I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't even know how much of the data that we're getting is accurate. So I don't know. And it's great how people, even collectively as a team, when humility, I like that phrase, humility is the way forward. that when we acknowledge that, it's almost like people give us more grace, that they're like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to have it together. But when we act like we have it all together, then they expect us to have it all together. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say to an entrepreneur in your industry who's like just exhausted emotionally, feels like they have nothing left to give? How would you encourage them to continue to show up?
Yeah, I think there's so much negativity. There's a couple of things that have helped me a lot. So much negativity. So I just start to talk to our members that I know I've seen personally a lot of change. And I need to go back to my why, like that mantra, go back to your why. But I want to talk to them. I want to say, hey, how has this helped you? What has Sundown done for you? It just really helps us to know that the day-to-day, because with fitness, it doesn't change overnight. It's like, it's not like you just received Jesus in your life. It's changed, and all that stuff. It's like, it takes time, and so asking them and just going after them, because there are inspiration and our motivation, and motivation is not forever. You're going to have so many days where you don't feel motivated. And so that's what inspires me, is knowing that what we're doing is worth it, and it is creating change. And that helps me a lot. The other thing that has helped me a lot is just going back to identity and like who I am. Like who I am is not necessarily what I produce. Mm-hmm. And I think as a business entrepreneur, we get so caught up in success is in the numbers, success is in making money, and that is true. Those are important metrics. I mean, you got to pay the bills or you don't have business, right? But in the end, like, it also doesn't define who I am. And sometimes the exhaustion, and what I found for me, what shifted is just saying, who I am, whether or not this business is a success or not, doesn't change who I am. So right. I have to go back who I am, who I'm created to be. And I need to operate out of that, not necessarily hope that my success in business or even my fitness or whatever will define me, because those things are all fleeting. As we learned today, or this past 8 months, everything is temporary, and so, and we really have to kind of know our identity as a leader, know our identity as a human. So if you fail or if you don't fail, while it's not easy, it doesn't change who you are necessarily. So that to me has helped a lot. Yeah. That's so awesome. I would advise that for sure.
Awesome. Suzie, I'm so grateful for you and for Alex and your faithfulness during the season and continuing to show up. And I know as a committed follower of Jesus that love that you have from God and your identity as a daughter of His is so central to your ability to continue to do that. And I'm grateful for how you're valuing people, not just for their bodies, but for helping them get physically fit, but their minds and their souls, and the influence and impact that you both have on the Valley and the Greater Bay Area. I would love for you to share, for people who are interested in knowing more about the gyms that you guys lead, where they could go to find out more information, or even on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere that they could find out about you guys.
Yeah, of course. They're always welcome to reach out. We have our tag on Instagram is at Sundown CrossFit. And then, of course, we have CrossFit Volition, which is at CrossFit_Volition. And then our website, sundowncrossfit.com, and then CrossFitVolition.com. All the information is there, and you can contact us through the website. And we're here, we're open, we're running, we're outside. Bring layers, it's cold, but it's good. So it's been really fun to see people adapt to all the cold weather. But it's been good. So yeah, awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for encouraging people to keep showing up.
Hey, what a great conversation that was with Suzie. Thanks so much for being a part of the Echo Leadership Tribe. We want to encourage you, if you're new to the family, new to the tribe, go ahead and subscribe so that we can continue to resource you. Whatever platform you're on, it will come directly to you. You can also go to our website, Echo.Church/leadership podcast. There you'll get notes. There you'll get all the content as it's coming out. We love you. We're here to support you. Let us know if there's any ways during the season that we can help you succeed and get better as a leader. And we're going to continue to do our best to keep showing up, to give you resources and create a tribe of leaders that works together
to make a difference. Thanks so much for joining us for the Echo Leadership Podcast.